Welcome to Dice Shame Panel Live. Hey.
How are the hardcore gamers doing?
Hardcore gamers are doing fine.
They seem really coherent.
Yeah, this day.
We're so hardcore. Oh, yeah.
Just do that. Listen to Justin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
On the ones and twos.
Thanks.
Ladies and
Nice.
gentlemen, welcome to Dice Shame Live. This is I guess, live Q&A as well as, conversation about what you want to know about Dice Shame and all of the different ways that we can talk it. Maybe we should introduce ourselves first and foremost. My name is, of course, Mr. Harlan Guthrie. Up here in the corner, for some reason, the GM spot is Mr. Justin Thomas James.
Hey.
Now roll for initiative.
Who do you play, Justin?
Well, I play Kraloth, the human grave cleric, who has had a sordid past with the undead, doesn't really like them all that much, and kind of has some insecurity about it as well.
Yeah, just a little bit, eh?
A little bit.
We're going to have to talk about who can and can't be introduced, what kind of information we can and can't talk about.
Yeah, the spoilers.
Spoilers.
Spoiler talk.
Joe, why don't you take us through? You're the GM.
I'm Joe. I'm the GM of Dice Shame. DM, GM.
Woo! Wait,
I
hold on.
accept all.
Yeah, get it.
I don't have anything to say about that.
Well, you should introduce us and stuff, too. I was
Well,
doing it
yeah,
for
so
impulse, but-
Harlan plays Red the Tabaxi Ranger.
That's me! Bingo, bango.
You've just met Kraloth, played by our great friend Justin. Then we also have we have Alex, who plays Doran.
That's
Iron
right.
Fist.
I'm Doran Iron Fist.
Harlan's brother, you might hear the resemblance. Some people who are
Yeah.
brand new to Invictus and Dice Shame said that they had a really hard time distinguishing your voices, but I don't have anything.
I don't know why.
I don't know why.
I don't know why.
And then last but certainly not least, we have the lovely Rob Diobald, who plays Jack Page. The human.
Yeah.
And
The
so
brains of the operation.
here we are. This is us. We are
brains.
Dice Shame.
Very exciting.
Or as some fans call it, Dice Chame.
Dice Shame.
Dice Chame.
Or Deshame. Yes.
Shame.
Or Deshame.
Deshame.
Whatever works.
Wow.
Whatever you want. So
Yeah.
what are we
We need
doing?
to-
Whatever floats your boat.
Well, we're here for Extra Life. Extra Life 2020 is going on right now. Harlan and
Nice.
I have been awake for a very long time. It's a 24-hour gaming charity. So we've been raising money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Our local hospital is Sick Kids, and we've so far raised $2,600 this year.
Oh,
Yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah.
Holy macaroni.
Our initial
a big
goal
one, by
was
the way.
$1,000. We reached that before we started streaming. Then we raised over another $1,000 just in the last 24 hours. We're super proud. We offered a stretch goal of Harlan eating a Reaper chip.
Yeah.
That's
So he's
right.
going to eat some
his
spicy
favorite.
things. Probably not today because we are also doing the Hot Ones challenge a little bit later. But hopefully we're going to get to a $3,000 donation by the end of tonight.
Did you say two $3,000 donations or two a $3,000?
To one
donation?
$3,000 donation.
Oh, cool.
I
Well, I
mean,
just
you don't have to limit ourselves. We'll get where we get to.
You know what?
I just have to say, I've also got that one chip. Thank you to the
Yes,
stream and everybody
Yeah.
for sending that chip. Harlan, don't leave me hanging here. I got to give you a high five.
Oh, sorry. Here, wait. 3, 2,
There,
1.
3, 1. Here we go. Oh, no.
Cha! Nice.
Well done.
Good job, boys.
Yeah, so I'm going to eat that one tonight, too.
Yeah, you are.
If
And-
you are
and-
watching us, please donate.
Oh, yeah.
And if I could just add on to this whole Extra Life fund,
Please do.
this whole shebang. I was out earlier telling neighbors about this, and so some gamers on here are like live streaming their video gaming for 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And some people are doing RPGs like us, and like it's a mixed bag. Or like what else is out there? I'm just out of curiosity. Do you know of something that I missed other than that?
During Extra Life?
Mm-hmm.
They say that some
Yeah.
people will do like card games or like backgammon or whatever.
I've seen a lot of people doing board games, like filming their board
Yeah.
games live and stuff.
I think a couple of years ago I did a board game night that was it was at somebody's house back when you could go to people's houses and was we did a big party there, and Do you remember that time? Yeah.
No, you could go to people's houses back in the olden
Yeah.
days.
So
Man.
while I may be the dungeon master of Dice Shame, Harlan is the host of the Invictus stream and has long been the master of ceremonies when we stream on Wednesday nights live since, before 5 years ago, 6 years now we've been going on.
Yeah.
So Harlan has compiled some questions that he's going to ask us, and we're going to sort of turn this into like community conversation.
Well, actually, it's not just me. These are questions that have been submitted by the community, just to sort of get a thought where our characters' minds are at and all that kind of stuff. And
let me just add, like, can we get around to the community? All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
Of course.
What a great community that we
For
have
real.
got,
Absolutely.
So
because
wonderful.
it's incredible. I haven't been as on top of it today as I normally would like to be, but I did get on to see the Discord and a lot of different conversation. And I just gotta
absolutely. It's
hats
huge.
off to all you hardcore.
Oh yeah, I mean they're the
Hardcore
people who have made this
Yeah.
possible for $3,000. They're the ones who have,
sure.
have done it. It's amazing. It's
Yep.
inspiring. It's fantastic.
And over the past 4 years that we've been doing Extra Life, we have raised over $10,000 total. So that's pretty
That's
amazing.
huge.
Yeah.
Hell's
Amazing.
yeah.
That's
Good
fantastic.
job,
It really
us.
makes a difference.
Good job, community. Thank you so much for your
Good job,
generosity,
Harlan, you know?
donors.
Yeah. And
Harlan
someone
and
just donated $200 right now.
Right now?
Let's start, yeah.
Whoa.
Incredible.
I have my
Thank you.
donation to make,
Thank
but
you,
I,
Stu.
Which
on
was
my wallet.
from Kellenvor.
What?
So I don't know if that
From
was
Kel-
Kellenvor.
Kellenvor. Is that you,
has,
buddy?
That was me. That was
Yeah.
No, it was Kellenvor through me. I was just channeling, you know.
Of course,
Thanks, buddy.
Of course.
It's awesome.
Of
Channeling
course.
your credit card information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Well, it balances out in the end, right? He's very much about balancing.
Fourth
the
level
books
spell.
and keeping with the skeleton.
That's right.
so yeah, like I said, we have some questions. Let's start them off. There's no sense in waiting. So first off, Elika, Syntax Horror on Discord asked us a simple question to start off, and one that I often think about. What was your session 0 like? And I guess this
Ooh.
can be sort of the gameplay, but also the pre-discussion to how it happened.
The session 0 was interesting because it was us hanging out at a cabin watching everybody else talk about what their characters were going to be like and the thing you were doing, and this cool new thing you were off doing, and I just sort of hearing about it in the background. Because I remember you guys were I think that
That's
was the weekend you were
right.
making characters and everything.
Yeah.
think I was all
That's
Wow.
right. Yeah.
Rob had kind of a different introduction to Dice Shame than the rest of us, being that he was a late addition. So we
It's
had
true.
already conceived of the project and were busy brainstorming about it before he got looped in. However, he was staying with us at the cottage on the weekend where we were talking about who Red was going to be and who Kraloth was going to be. Yeah, that's very true. But when we conceived of the idea of Dice Shame, you were also along for the weekend. That was when we
Yes.
were in Indianapolis for Gen Con.
Yeah, which was an awesome weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That was very fun.
Another thing that we can't do these days.
Yeah.
Go to
Yeah.
conventions, right?
I miss conventions.
Me too.
Oh, me
Yeah.
too. We wanted to. I mean, Alex has never been to one.
Yeah,
I've
but
been to conventions, just not.
You've been to insurance. You've been to fucking insurance conventions.
They get wild. I'm not gonna lie.
Same thing, guys.
He's wearing a green tie.
wacky.
No, I have been to. So I've been walking through a Comic-Con once. I wasn't there long, but I did go walking through. But
Did Elijah Wood show up?
Yeah, actually, I got a handy from him.
Oh my
lucky.
goodness.
This is 18 plus, of course.
I was just about to
Wait,
say.
hold on. That's a joke.
Yeah.
That was a joke. Oh, shit.
I learned today that in Germany they call a cell phone a handy.
Oh, that's what I meant. Because I needed to make a call. I didn't have it. And I was like, somebody give me a handy. No, Elijah was like,
give you a cell phone.
here, reaches into my pocket, double checks that I don't have my phone on me, and it's not. So yeah, and then he hands me his phone.
He's very thorough, is what you can say about Elijah
Yeah.
Wood.
And then he
Yeah,
jacked you
yeah.
off.
Yes.
And then he jerks you off. Yeah.
such a
While
class
we were
act.
trying to have a conversation on the phone.
Alex, do you remember what session 0 was like? Do you even?
Session 0 was not just one night. Session 0 spanned a few days, I'm gonna say. It was mostly off camera, no?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess
I don't
that's
recall.
fair.
Yeah.
It wasn't really official. I think a lot of it had to do with you being excited about playing a dwarf fighter, and Harlan trying to talk you out of being a fighter because he was worried about the
Yes.
longevity of your character. He thought, if we have
That's
this little
right.
tiny dwarf getting up close and personal with giants, he's going to
He
get
was saying,
stomped flat
"Oh,
in
no.
episode 2.
You should be a berserker. You should be a berserker and a barbarian. So you have the berserker, and I love you, Harlan.
I wasn't trying to convince you.
No, you were. Yeah.
Hold on. I wasn't trying to convince you. You just weren't aware of other classes. And I was trying to only explain because you were like, I want to be this guy that gets right up in it. And I was like, have you looked at a berserker? That was the extent of my convincing.
Fair enough.
Barbarian,
fair enough. But then
boys. Barbarian.
Or barbarian,
Yes,
sorry.
barbarian, yeah.
Who called it berserker?
Which I did strongly consider, and
That's all.
I've done barbarian in other aspects, but no, Session Zero was.
What do you mean
good.
other aspects? Not other D&D games. What other aspects have you been
Yeah,
a
I think
barbarian?
I think I did a barbarian in a different D&D game.
Oh, no. Okay.
Maybe.
Zolgash, I think, is a barbarian.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
So there you go,
Talks
Harlan.
like
For you.
this.
Zolgash. No, Session Zero was really good for me. It was bringing me back to, basics when it came to D&D. So that was really good for me. Not only did I flesh out character, I also fleshed out D&D basic rules, which is like, because unless you really dedicate time to these things, that you just, it's like anything. If you don't dedicate the time to it, you lose it. It's a craft.
Yeah, it is. You got to practice, right?
Yeah, so that's for me. Session zero was
Ground Zero. Yeah.
it
Where
was
it all took place.
I also remember, actually, which was really cool, because Alex typically takes these things pretty frivolously. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying that.
Casually.
No, you're
maybe.
not.
Casually.
I'm late to the live stream. so-
Yes.
No, but you did a lot of research into like dwarves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Alex
It's really
sent me
cute.
like a huge backstory. I think he was second only to Rob. As you might imagine, Rob sends me
tome.
paragraphs worth of information. I love them all,
I was
obviously.
having fun.
Of course you were, and we value that so much. Like that's the reason that Jack is one of the most fleshed out characters in the game.
Well, I like to really, I know you guys are all the same, but I like to really delve into the mind of my character. It's like method acting for me. I can't just put on a face and say, oh yeah, actually I'm lied. I can do that. I didn't want to do that for this character. I didn't want to just put on a
Right.
face and say, oh, that's who I am. I wanted to
I
like,
did
get
have
in the
to
mindset.
sort of send you an email though that was like,
Yeah.
by the way, this is not J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, you did a lot of
It's-
Misty Mountain stuff.
It's got its
Yeah.
own sort of like history and geography and stuff. But once I think we got that figured out, it was perfect.
Actually, my character is the great grandson of Gimli, son of Gloin, or I'm a cousin or something like
Yeah.
that.
yes,
I'm son of Thundin, great grandson of Fundin.
In Doran's
In Doran's mind.
universe, he's
The
actually
lineage.
yeah, his
It
lineage.
is.
You
is
drew
all
out an
actually-
entire family tree
I
dating
did.
back
I drew a family
thousands
tree.
of years. I remember one thing that a decision that was made between Harlan and I was that we wanted to play best friend characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like established as like, okay, before we even knew it was going to be Kraloth and Red, it was we want to be best friends.
Yeah.
Which
That
is
was
really
the first-
interesting.
Which is really interesting because of where we're at right now.
Falling apart now. You're in. And
So as of today, I believe what people who have listened
we heard
to.
episode 56.
So the last thing was Kraloth walking out of the bar and giving back the stone carving, right? Oh, no.
No, the
No.
last thing.
they've
Oh,
heard.
Was killing the dwarf.
Yep, they've heard the death of Amroth Molnabar.
That's right.
And also the death of the undead
Yeah.
Yeah,
vampires
but-
terrorizing the town.
5 Hunt Lords.
That's right.
Let's not gloss
So we
over
can't-
that.
one of the coolest
Wait,
moments.
where
For
are we?
Jack. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean just for playing D&D is I played a lot of D&D, but I've never had a chance. I mostly ran it, and I never had a chance to like have that moment of you get one encounter where you get to spend all your spell slots and go the fuck all out and just do everything, like just spend it all in one shot, and that was pretty cool.
It was
That's
very
why,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, there's something
It's a super
special about
Yeah.
an encounter that happens late at night because like you're probably going to be able to get a long rest in before you have another one, so you can just
Yeah.
use all your spells.
But yeah, just for terms of any other questions, look, that's where we're at. They have not seen anything beyond that or know anything beyond that. But yeah, your session 0, Justin. Continue. We were talking about being friends. And...
Yeah, it's coming up with characters that are like thinking about the relationships. I think that's a really fun thing to that was fun for us to create. Like, how do we all know each other? Where are our like ties in the party? And
yeah,
I think there was a natural sort of like we kind of assumed how things would go, like Red and Kraloth, the old 1-2 type stuff. But I think we've, in the 56 episodes, we've all been surprised of what characters have come together in what moments.
Relationships
Absolutely.
grow and change depending on the circumstances.
And I think that's a really interesting point and I've made it many times, but since this is sort of an official Dice Shame Live thing, I do want to say publicly and again that we owe a huge chunk of what Dice Shame is to Rob because of him stepping in last minute. Because for
100%.
Invictus fans, Chris was meant to be a part of this podcast, which is funny because that was one of the reasons why I was trying to get Doran to switch, because I think at the time they were playing similar characters or I can't remember exactly, but Chris pulled out I think it was like a day before recording or like 2 days before recording.
We were scheduled to record on Saturday, and
this isn't to put Chris under the bus.
No, of course not, because he has just had a young baby, a second child born the month prior. So it was the Friday night we had been talking about it, and he was all set to come, and then he was like, "Listen, guys, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't think I can commit to it." And we had said from the outset, like, this is something we want to release every single week.
Yeah.
No matter
rain or
what,
shine.
we
Yeah.
want to make this something that is consistent and dependable, first and foremost for our audiences, because I feel like when you start releasing a podcast and you can't commit to a weekly schedule or bi-weekly, whatever you say your schedule is, that's when people stop subscribing.
Yeah.
And so when we heard that from Chris, obviously we respect him so much and we love him and wish we could have played Dice Shame with him, but we were like, man, it's not going to be a good show if there's just 3 PCs.
Yeah.
We got to have someone else.
Enter Rob.
Who do we have? And we had Rob on the Invictus stream a number of times as a guest star.
Yeah.
Once for a 10-part campaign with my Apocalypse World. He played a little bit. Did you do some one-shots with us as well?
Call of
He did
Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu, that's right. Yeah,
Campaign.
you were Jan, right?
That
Yan?
was kind of one of the first ones, I think.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
another
like- Yan.
10-part. Yan.
Jan.
Yan.
Marvin just said Jack rounds off the party, which I
He
totally agree.
does.
He makes
So
it. He sells it.
It would have been such a different show because
been so different.
Rob brings such a unique and very needed element into the party, which is you're the person who's like got the most experience out of all of us with D&D.
Not just as a character,
agree.
but as a person.
Rob
I think
looks like he is desperate to say
what
something.
a lot of what's.
Just
What?
like
What were you gonna say, Justin?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
what
Rob.
was I gonna say? I was gonna say yes. And as a person, I mean, he knows so much about D&D, and then also, but I think that the thing that I love about Rob, is how inspiring of a player he is. I mean, like Rob is the type of person who is going to say like, okay, Jack's gonna write a letter, and then he goes and he writes the entire letter, and he does it in like beautiful text form, and then he sends it in as like a handout.
The
almost.
Google documents
Like,
of his like history and shit. It's awesome.
It's just like he takes it so seriously as an art that like Alex
one
was
of the
saying,
one of
it just
the fun
inspires
things about, because I hadn't played a game set in the Forgotten Realms. Like when I first started playing D&D in high school, it was all set in the Forgotten Realms, and we were all nerding out about it in high school. And so there was this like really nostalgic drive to like come back to this setting and like explore those parts of it and play a character who was also enthused about the history of it and wanted to like dig into it and like worry about the weird details about like, well, but who made this salt shaker and where did it come from and what's this world like? And because it's this fantasy world where like awful shit happens every day because they've got 700 million games about it and all this other stuff. Like it's a weird world full of strange coincidences and things that just got put off in a one line and that became someone's canon somewhere. And so there's like, I wanted someone fascinated with those bits of it.
Yeah.
You know what really I love about you, Rob, is that you don't go too far in the wrong areas. In other words, you go far in all the right areas. In my opinion, you're like, you get into the character aspect, but you're not so hard on the rules that you're like,
Yeah, that's fair.
now,
And you know what? I think
not
that's
right. But
I
you're
think
like,
that's such a
hardcore
great
into your
point.
character and the storyline, and
Yep.
I just love that.
And I think that's one of the things that we see so
Creativity.
commonly in people that may play similarly to Rob is that they're also that shitty side of it, where they also are like,
Shitty side.
it's true though.
Like, oh, you know, shitty
Rules,
people.
rules,
But it is.
lawyer kind of
Rules,
goes
lawyers, and like people who are kind of snobbish
Comes
with
with
the
the
game.
territory.
It,
Yeah,
it
it's
tends
true.
I mean,
to.
I think it's the
It
second
is shitty.
game of 5th edition D&D I played. I think I played a one-shot somewhere else, and then I just organized it at conventions a lot. So I was aware of what was happening, but I hadn't played it until Dice Shame. I don't think.
Well,
Not
you
like
do it beautifully.
yeah.
Rob turned bright pink. Bless.
That's
The
true.
number of
Did you see
hearts
my
in
glasses
chat
are the
right
same
now.
shade as my face?
Someone said that.
It's
So you did.
wonderful.
Also, he's freaking hilarious. He's
Yeah.
freaking
Oh,
hilarious in the show.
this is true.
Rob
Actually,
has the bitchiest, most delicious
I
sense
well
of
not
humor.
bitch. I mean, sometimes bitchy, but
very
I
good.
do have to say, and this is coming from me, which is a huge compliment because I know I think a lot of myself. But I gotta say that Rob is sincerely one of the funniest people off. Like the amount of clips that you hear behind the scenes that Rob just fucking nails, literally to this day. The stuff that makes me laugh. Dude, Justin and I were laughing about the other day. And I was talking with Joe.
The Icewind Dale episode.
No, the Beavers thing. When he's like,
Oh,
you think
yeah.
Beavers are so great? Well, fuck you. so good. I
Beavers
think
are
about
these
that.
glorious
often.
animals, and
Yeah.
they're just fucking
But
rats.
they're not.
that
They're
build-
fuck you. They don't
Damn.
feel anything. It's all about the delivery. It's fucking
Yeah.
hilarious. And yeah, well, then there's another. I mean, there's often Rob. It's weird that Rob quotes have started entered
Yeah.
our daily vernacular.
But see, but that's really fascinating because you guys live with this audio so much more than I do. Like we say it once or whatever, and just record it.
That's
And
right.
got it,
You
and
might
have
listen
like,
to it
process
again.
through it and edit it and listen to it 7 times and make 3 corrections and then go back. So
Yeah.
all of those things are like, it's funny to think of them as a piece of media you guys are consuming a whole bunch, and it's like that's the thing I said once, and now it's.
What
you know,
is this? A book? What is
That's
this?
the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Krylov goes and like leaves through
When
the
he's
stuff on
leaving
the
the
woman's
stuff,
desk
he's like,
and just
"What is the
Rob like
book?"
super quiet like
Oh yeah.
what's this? A book?
Oh, it's so
Oh
good.
good.
But the thing is, and I think what makes it even more special
What?
is Jack isn't a funny character. It's
That's the
Rob.
best part.
Rob is the funny one. Jack is like, whatever, but like
Mm-hmm.
Rob is fucking hilarious behind the scenes. And unfortunately, sometimes it gets caught on the cutting floor because honestly, some shit's pretty off color. We do a pretty good job at editing. But session 0 was the question, and yeah, I don't really remember session 0 personally. I don't. I mean, there was a lot of conversation, the dwarf
Honestly,
stuff, the
there
Chris
was nothing official where people sit down with all of their players to talk about the tone and you know.
There was an email.
Well, that's the
Email,
thing is
yeah.
we emailed
Emailed,
and
that's
we're fairly comfortable in terms of playing with each other with doing RPGs. So we really didn't have to talk about like our expectations or limits necessarily.
We did have to talk about expectations. One of the things that we made very clear at the beginning was that if we're going to do this, and the 5 of us are going to do it, we gotta do it. Because it's easy to get into something. I mean, Invictus was always meant to be a wishy-wash, like come in, hang out, do whatever. We never had any expectations. But when Justin and Joe and I wanted to do this, we were like, okay, but people who are in, they're in. Like we don't want.
Yeah.
So you guys had like.
We're talking about you,
full-on
Alex.
thing. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I guess Alex isn't doing it then.
No, we
But-
really wanted you to be in it because
But what was most exciting was when Alex
said I'm all in.
was like, I'm 100% in. And you were like, I'm dedicated to.
I wish I could
you're
have
making me
like
blush.
captured the
Framed it.
look
Oh, it was
on
wonderful.
Harlan's face, Alex, when his big brother was like, "I'm gonna be there for you." And
Well,
do
not
this
only
thing
do
with
I
you,"
love
'cause it's,
playing
like,
with
super
Alex,
cute, right?
and it's such a
Getting all
great way
emotional.
that we get to keep in touch
Yeah.
and connect and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But it's Alex is he is the
Just as
equal.
important as Rob.
I was going to
would
say he's the equal and opposite to Rob,
I would-
where
Make
he
my head big.
where he adds the opposite of what Rob adds in a needed way. He adds the levity, the
off-color,
the off-color,
shit, the forgetting
bullshit,
everyone's
the,
name.
what
the-
the
Yeah.
Molnar Bar
He's the,
Aircraft.
oh, he's the like
I'm the
player
everyday
stand-in.
man.
He's the list. He's the
No,
listener
you're
stand-in.
worse. You're not the everyday man. You're like dumb. You're like, but that's what I love about it. You're
I'm
like
not saying that our listeners are dumb, but it's for the people who are not so Rob is one side of our listenership who are like crazy
Right.
D&D fans, and Alex is the other side of listenership who are like,
Really? Well,
these
what is
guys are
D&D?
funny. What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
And
think
they can
there's also a
listen
lot
and they're
of
like,
art there,
oh,
too.
like you don't have
There's-
to take yourself
there's a-
too seriously to do this thing because you can just have fun with it, right?
I think Alex through Doran also adds this really like warm tone to the rest
Oh,
of
yeah.
it too.
It's the
like
heart.
this centered, grounded, bring everything back together, like gravity that
And it's-
that would have this group, spin apart without it.
Absolutely, and it's almost it's in that like frivolousness that he sort of treats it very like that brings that heart to a degree because he's not taking it too seriously. He's always seeing what's important at the heart of it, but
I was
not in a
driving-
bad way.
I was driving listening to the last episode, and there's
Yeah.
this really heartfelt moment where Alex says, well, then I eat the butt and I go and do this thing because he's smoking a
Oh, the
cigarette.
cigarette.
I'll finish this. Okay, I eat the butt. And I died talking about how, like, just thinking about that moment.
I remember us recording that line
There's
too.
two takes. Yeah, because he
super
goes,
funny.
and I ate the butt, and we all laugh,
all
and he goes,
crack up.
and then he goes,
No,
no,
I want it to
I don't
be
want anyone to
nothing.
laugh at it. He goes, just, I'm
I want
gonna
this
just
to be
do
something
it.
that Doran just does, and we
Just
move
does it.
on.
And we just and then there was a good joke I had to cut
So funny.
where because we were also talking about this is the interesting thing about editing too because tonally we want to set a theme with the episodes and the last few episodes have been very dark but there's still humor when we're recording and
Just a little sprinkling.
oh my god like chests and butts there were so many jokes in there it's like well
Oh
Doran
my
likes
God.
chests and butts and when we go to bed tonight we're gonna need to snuggle with chests and butts but all that had to get cut out because it's like it doesn't tonally make sense but
Yeah.
Which
Right,
is a good segue into, looking at these three players over here. Three people, I should say. Rob and I are on our own over here, but these three, you've got the GM preparing, doing all the work on the story and that end, and then Harlan and Justin, just ramping it out like I can't even
Crushing
put it
it.
to words. The post production, the production that you guys put into this. And that's really what I think what really tops it off.
Well,
You can have
yeah.
a good story and good actors, but if you have a crummy production, it's not going to work
Well,
for a podcast.
expectation-wise, that was one of the things I took away from that like session 0 sort of email was really that the expectation is we're playing D&D, but we're making a show, and so there's that
Yes.
element
It's
of
not our live
there will
stream.
be editing, there will be it's going to
Yeah.
be something that we're polishing and finishing and being thoughtful about what we put out, and so
And
there's
it's not pre-written, it's not preconceived
No.
necessarily, but it is polished and presented to the
And-
listener in a palatable
right.
way.
And there is I have a very liberal editing process where like if a scene is going a direction I absolutely will cut out some lines to make sure that it's going to a head to like reach an emotional point or whatever like even the last episode alone and this is not to shit on Kraloth because I think Kraloth is having a really interesting point here that is he's following a dark path. Justin, as he's recording, there's a few lines in there every once in a while that are a little lighter, sort of spruced in, which adds a great, up and down. But when we're moving towards an episode that's sort of meant to build in this like dramatic arc, there are definitely things that we end up cutting out just to kind of make
Right.
it all
Make it flow
Make it-
towards that
and
emotional
build.
peak.
Yeah, exactly. Because ultimately,
Darkest
Right.
to the brightest.
the darkest timeline.
But this is a good point because this is another important aspect of what Session 0 was Joe, Harlan, and I driving down to Indianapolis and conceiving the idea and talking about what it could be like and getting together and firmly establishing our different responsibilities and what we're going to take on and how we can keep this sustainable so that we have our jobs, we have our exact specific production
We knew our roles and our responsibilities. Yeah.
and then with that over here we can just get together and we can play
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
so that it's a smooth process as possible.
It's like how can I say it? It's you three are just full of grace. That's if you could tie it into one knot. That's
Grace.
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 Crazy.
She died 3 years ago.
Get out of me!
all I'm saying is that you three tie it together so well.
Thank you.
And
Well,
Rob
thank
and I are
Thanks,
here
Alex.
just to support.
Alright.
Guys.
We'll appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's some of the most fun getting a chance to listen to some of the episodes and be like, oh shit, I can't wait to how they figured out how they do it next, or what. Oh
And
god,
then
that
remember
piano's
that
perfect, or
was-
that's
that
the
was
perfect
you.
effect for this moment, or that's the, just to see how that stuff carries it through. It's really cool to get to hear it back.
Oh yeah, and I mean shifting scenes around sometimes too for the same purpose. Like sometimes there's or just removing
Harlan-
scenes because it doesn't make sense.
That was. This is stuff that we can get into. Like, God, I mean, we were still on the
Yeah.
first question, but I do have to say that, I mean, the editing, like, it's such a
Arduous.
it's almost a thankless job in terms
Yeah.
of the actual artistry that goes into it, because it's
Do you
you know
agree with
like
that?
like think about what's that.
I said I do agree with that. Not thankless. No.
I mean, because I mean, like, you think about the last episode, like it's writing really, like this is telling a story, and you're going through a book that's been written and cutting out, all of the things that get in the way of creating this invisible sense of momentum. And in the last episode alone, like the back and forth. And the speed at which the scenes cut back to each character, like that's not done, by design when we're recording. It's done by design afterwards. And that switching back and forth creates this feeling, which is such a difficult thing to describe. And it's
Well, that's a
I don't know
different
where you learn that shit.
talent. It's a different piece of art, right? Like it's playing the game is one thing and being entertaining is one thing, and then putting pieces together is another craft that one needs to have. In the same way that running the game and figuring out, okay, here's the challenges I'm going to put in front of them, and figuring out how to roll with. Oh, they did that. I didn't expect this. How do we do it? Like that's a different craft too. And so there's a lot of really cool.
No, and hats off to Harlan there, because we'll be in the middle of recording, and then Harlan will say, "Whoa, okay, can you re-say that clean?" And then we'll all be joking around. He's like,
Yeah, like, oh,
"No,
God
like
damn,
seriously,
oh,
say
man.
it clean, please, come on."
Feed us the line back. Like, I want to
Okay.
include that in the episode, but you guys all fucked it up.
Yeah,
So can you
yeah.
say that again?
Or like
Clean.
what's happens is someone will say something serious, but they'll flub a line, and then someone will laugh, and then they'll say it again, but they're smiling. And when you cut that together, someone's like,
Yeah,
so I walked
yeah.
down the street, and I couldn't imagine how. And you're
My
like,
horse died.
so you're like, what? This doesn't even make like it doesn't sound
the
like it's one
emotional-
line, but it's
Yeah.
it's interesting. But no, it is everything coming together to a head.
And then yeah, you've also talked about bringing it to a head emotionally, but there's also times where you'll edit it so the joke lands better, which is also
Well,
just
and it's
fine
interesting.
in my opinion.
Well, and there's a question that people ask later that is a good point to talk about that because I agree, and that's an interesting thing too with like humor and timing. But let's go on to the next question because
Question two.
Okay.
Oh, go
I
ahead,
do want to
Justin.
ask.
Go ahead.
I did want to ask Joe something about Session Zero, because Joe,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
obviously,
oh yeah, we didn't ask
like-
Joe.
your
What?
like Session Zero for you is kind
Yeah.
of a very special moment as the DM, because you're telling the story, but the story is so kind of incumbent on the characters. Would you be able to talk a little bit about when you learned where each of us were going with our characters, how that informed what was Session Zero like for you?
I mean, I found it very challenging to try to take all of the wonderful ideas that you guys all had about the people that you wanted to be and the characters that you wanted to play, and to try to fold that into something that I thought was going to be interesting for people to listen to. I think just because I guess I have like imposter syndrome at times where I feel like I'm just making like a game for people to play. I don't really consider myself as like a performing artist of any kind. So I spent a lot of time thinking about what that was going to look like, and I still have a lot of trouble with that. I think especially because of the ways that your characters change and grow and react to the challenges that I throw at you, but it's always a pleasure. I don't really know what to say apart from that. Like, I'm trying to write the most exciting story that I can, and I also want to do justice to the wonderful story that the people at Wizards wrote. So I'm trying to like fold everything together in a way that makes sense and is exciting.
It's daunting at the very beginning.
It's very daunting.
Yeah.
But a lot of it like just had to wait to come to fruition, because I think there's a temptation to make it all happen right away. That episode 1 has to like talk about everything that's important to every character. And I think that, you know, story kind of has to have, like you guys were saying with Harlan's editing, has to have a right rhythm. So you can't just start out like episode 1. Let's talk about my ex-wife. Like that has to come 30 episodes in to make, honestly, to make sense for the character. And you have to wait until that character means something to people before you introduce like really earth-shattering truths about them, or else for folks that's all that Doran is going to be, instead of like, oh, that's a really cool detail about them. The same way as I think when you're introducing yourself to a new person for the first time, you're not going to be like, and I'm divorced. Like that doesn't really make sense, and it kind of colors your interpretation of the person. You kind of have to be a human being for them.
A wagon wheel ran over me when I was 3.
Right. Like
That's why I have this limp. Nice to meet you.
Be a person and have a personality, and then introduce yourself like in all of those important details as you get to know each other. And it's kind of like that in a story, I think.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
It's so cool to hear just the amount of thought that everybody had going into this.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't just like, okay, yeah, we'll do this. Everyone was like,
Yeah.
yes,
And I
all
mean,
right. Well,
There's so much that goes to the production of it, but I really do mean it, because here's the analogy that I have. Like we all come to Joe with a scrapbook of ideas. We're like, here,
yeah,
you create something for us to like, you know, learn from. And
Hey, do something with this? Would you?
Yeah.
right.
And
You
usually
go
the answer is
through,
like,
like,
yeah,
minutes.
great, cool. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Like, obviously, Rob came to me and was like, here's something cool. Like, I want to accidentally summon a demon. There was no way that we could
devil.
have anticipated. Sorry, I don't care.
Jack very much.
Of course he does.
Yes, I live for this.
Can I speak with Rob? Is Rob in there?
Technically.
Yeah, sorry.
But then, of course, you're like, your brain starts wandering. Like, what? How can we mess with this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. Syntax horror.
Ika.
Ika.
Yeah.
Some of these are a bit. I'm gonna read them all, and then we can choose to sort of briefly answer or go in more depth. But some of them are a bit sort of difficult to answer, really. But Jessica just asked, "What the heck is going on with Kraloth?" I think she is very emotionally. What did she say? She said.
She's really anxious about the situation.
Yeah, she's really anxious about what's going on.
We don't want to spoil anything,
No,
but
we're not going to spoil anything going forward. So that's gonna be a tough one to answer. But
yeah.
I guess what I can say is just that
Justin's new
Kraloth
character
has-
is great. Everyone loves him.
His name's Frodo Baggins.
No, I don't know. I don't think I can say anything. I can't say anything. But
There's some really cool information that's going to come forward
Yeah.
in the next episode.
We can say it's great that you feel that emotionally attached to a character.
I am very happy that you're feeling well. I'm happy that you're suffering with Kraloth. Is not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's resonating with you. You'll see.
I would never put these boys through pain if there wasn't some kind of reward on the other side at some point. And I think
Like a new
that
character.
we're seeing some of that reward come to fruition in the next few episodes for Kraloth, though not fully. We'll leave it at that.
No, in hell he'll burn. Doug asked, "Have you folks played D&D before? Is this party makeup similar or drastically different? I together before. So I guess obviously this 5, no, we've never played D&D before.
This is the first. I
not
think I
the
met
podcast.
Alex the first day we sat down to record. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you did.
that's actually funny
Frob.
because that's where Frob came from.
Frob.
You guys were all chatting about how you loved each other so much, and Alex looked beside and he was like, "I'm happy to be sitting next to Rob. This is Frob, friend Rob." I'm like, best friends.
We're doing it.
Super cute.
No, it's true. Everybody, you guys knew Rob, you guys knew me, and hey, I'm like, I think Rob, you're kind of the same way. It's like if you're a friend of my friends, you're in. Like,
Yeah, when it was interesting, because you'd done a bunch of Invictus stuff before, and then I'd done some stuff with these folks, and so it was like, okay,
tag, yeah.
part of the same pool of whatever. This had been a thing that had happened before, so the format of it was familiar, but it was interesting to sit next to somebody who was like, okay, this is the first time we went. Now, yeah, best friends, that's fine.
And
Introducing-
And I knew
Rob's
sitting
being
down
like
next
awkward.
to you that it, you know what, if you had been like, I don't want to do that. I would have been like,
Wow.
what is this rating?
You'd be Frob, but not
I'd
friend.
be so furious. But you weren't. You were like into it and easygoing about it. And I was like, this is not going to be a problem at all. I can get along with Rob. Frob it is.
You're both very easy people to get along with.
Yeah.
However, Joe and Justin and I
Many games.
but this is important. Not only played D&D together before, but we had before Dice Shame, and actually what led to Dice Shame was that apart from Invictus, we started doing an in-person D&D game with myself,
Adventurers League
with myself, Justin, and
That's
Chris,
right.
obviously GM by Joe. And that's where we basically started doing it. And then we're like, oh, let's just make a podcast out of this and add
We'll
some
start
more
from the
people.
beginning with
That's
a
why
different
Chris was
adventure.
originally into it. We're like, well, let's throw in Alex because he'll be a funny
Well, you
mix.
played a very similar character. His name was also Red,
I played Red-Handed Robin.
but he was a
Except-
rogue ranger split.
So it was very interesting because Red went through basically 3 iterations.
You practiced him.
I did. I made him with the Underdark campaign, Out of the Abyss, and he did not have any accent or voice. He was a straight-up ranger rogue, but he was still a Tabaxi.
Yep.
And I was like, we have to get out of here.
He still had no ears or tail.
Yeah, but no accent. And then we started playing Curse of Strahd, you and I.
Yes, that's right. You had Red in that campaign
And
as well.
and that's where Red. And then that is when I started adding an accent to Red because I was playing 2 characters. I was
Yeah.
playing Graham, which was like this, and I didn't want to do 2 similar sounding characters. So I was like, well, and Red will be a bit more like this.
Well, and also it was such
Carry
a
on.
dark campaign, and it was I actually have a very special place in my heart for that
Yeah, it's a
campaign,
good
mostly because it's me and the man I love like doing something that's like super nerdy together. We just got to spend like a ton of time talking about like dice and shit. But it was such a dark campaign, and Harlan was using Red as a lever to inject some levity into situations. He would like just wedge some jokes in there to sort of lighten up Barovia, and that's where Red got his like bubbly personality, I think.
But yeah, so to say, is the party makeup similar? It's identical for me.
Well,
Kraloth, who did you play in Out of the
he
Abyss?
played a cleric. He
Yeah,
was
you
a
played him.
Kenku cleric.
A
Yeah.
Kenku
Toll,
cleric.
remember?
That's right.
That's right.
So it's similar as well, actually. But you switched to Kraloth
Different.
because you used to play Kraloth growing up.
And I would say additionally it was
Yes.
difficult with the Kenku to do the mimicry, right?
can't
You were
talk.
doing the mimicry very well in our campaign, but
Yeah,
would have been tricky for a
yeah.
podcast.
Kenku was cool because I could kind of be like a dexterity-based cleric, which is a far cry from what I am now.
tank.
But yeah, it was limiting because Kenkus don't actually speak technically; they just mimic voices like parrots, I guess. So I wanted to play a character that I felt, I don't know, grounded in, and that's humans for me. I like playing the normal guy surrounded by crazy weirdos.
What do you mean?
Fair.
Why you don't really mean that, do you?
I think
Do you
Jack
agree, Lana?
actually uses that phraseology in one of the most recent episodes where he's like, yeah,
Oh, really?
I'm surrounded by weird people, and you guys are like, ha ha, and he's like, yeah, and you guys can count yourself among
Yeah,
those crazy people.
yeah. But it's
Yeah.
true. I mean, sometimes you can really pigeon. Is that the right term? Pigeonhole,
Pigeonhole?
or corner yourself
Corner
into,
yourself. Yeah.
a character. If you like, I've done that so many times, especially with voices. You're like, I can't do this voice. I can't continue to do this character.
They're on every
I
NPC I
can't just
invent.
mimic people. Like, I need to be able to develop this into something. So
Right.
like that, and that's why I chose to be me, because I was always dwarves growing up, and I was like, I'm just gonna do something that I love, and I'm
so
comfortable
happy
with,
for that.
and I was
Except-
a fighter.
Yeah.
What's really interesting, and this is trivia for the audience that's watching, and I want to hear your guesses. So the first episode or whatever, he doesn't say it. We cut it out. But Alex said he was trying to mimic an actor's voice by doing Doran.
Oh,
And I know we all remember.
Oh,
I
no.
remember. Do you guys not
I
remember?
don't.
Oh, I remember.
I don't remember.
You don't remember either, Alex?
I know. I don't.
Oh. Okay, I want the chat to guess who Alex. Well, he's trying to mimic an actor. This might give too much away, but he's trying to mimic an actor playing a character, which is a very specific, famous character. So I want you to guess because I remember
It
being.
is what you're thinking of.
I remember you saying it and me being like, "What? Okay, fine."
Maybe.
So guess. It's really
All right.
fucking
Well,
funny.
can you text that to me? Can you message that?
Probably
I'll
on tape
message you.
somewhere.
Message the group.
No. Oh well. Oh yeah. Okay, fine.
Just the inside
Yeah,
scoop.
He's gonna go. All right. Watch.
Don't say it.
I won't say it.
There.
I don't know. That's what I thought you were saying.
100%. You turned to me and
So
you're
really.
like, "I'm trying to be." You remember too, right, Joe? Yeah.
And you were like, okay.
And then it sort of devolved and kind of went more Kermity at times.
Maybe
You 100% said that.
Remember how glorious Alex's voice was when he was playing Miros?
Oh yeah. Hold on. We got more questions though. I'll add that to the end.
Yes.
Talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this kind of like
Doug
the guy
also
in the
asked.
chef mixed with a little bit of this and that. It's
Doug-
a Miros.
Doug also asked, "What happened to Zephyros? Do you miss him?" And that's actually going to be answered in a future question or future episode, so we're not going to.
Yeah, I can't reveal that, but he does come back. Wait,
reveal.
I do miss him.
So thank
he's
you,
not
Doug.
dead yet. Doug.
Derek from Rolling Misadventures, which is actually another podcast. So thanks for submitting some questions, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
Asked us,
Yeah, awesome.
what is your favorite D20 you own? Describe the style and etc. Obviously, one that you're not rolling with.
Great question.
I don't have a favorite
Oh,
one, but I do
mean-
have some favorite. I bought a whole bunch of like one of the Wiz Dice bag of holding dice and got like just a ton of different sets that were all like clear and see-through and things and of very cool colors. And those are my favorite dice for D&D. They're just a cool collection of colors. They're all different, but all kind of have the same thing. And I don't know. I just like having a bunch of stuff.
We're kind of forced to be
Nice.
unprecious with our dice. With
Yeah,
the
but not
whole
these ones.
show, right?
These ones are gemstone dice that Joe got me.
Oh, true.
They're really nice, and these ones I have rolled before, and I called them
Bad names.
Ash, I think.
Yeah,
Ash.
It was Ash.
But I don't share.
Here's my blue and gray marble
And that's
paladin
Icewind
die.
Dale for you, Justin, right? That's
Really
the,
This is this
Yeah.
is Iceland. I mean, it's not like this is all of my dice are all over the place. I don't know where they are.
Yeah, same.
But this is the one that my favorite right now, which could
I
be yours for the low price.
Don't often roll this dice. I don't think I've ever rolled it on the podcast, but I have a set of metal
Ooh,
dice.
nice.
Listen to this.
yeah, they're heavy.
Oh,
Serious.
what a good way.
meaty.
Dent
And-
your desk.
And
A
really,
hearty roll.
you need to be serious when you roll these dice. So that's for like
Yeah.
I might kill somebody today.
Yeah.
Then I might be
Ooh,
like,
heavy.
I'm gonna use a
You
metal
enter the
dice.
room and you are faced with 3 Dementors. I throw my paladin or I throw my steel die.
Fuck is a Dementor?
You kill them.
From Harry Potter.
don't
Derek
know. I don't
also asked, which would you rather play, a bard with no charisma or a wizard with no intelligence? Probably a bard. It's easy for me.
Yeah.
For red or a wizard with no intelligence.
I do the bard episode, I think.
I would do the bard.
That's
They're more versatile.
I'd pull a real instrument out, obviously.
Additionally, they're actually proficient with some weapons. So if they had a high dex or strength, you could at least still handle yourself, right?
Yeah,
mean,
but a
maybe-
mage can't play a guitar.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd try wizard.
You
Yeah,
just
just to be
Just to be
contrarian.
contrarian, yeah. I was gonna say.
Contrarian.
yeah.
You know,
That's
but
just-
I mean, there's many things that a
challenge.
wizard could do without, you don't need intelligence for mage hand, and that spell you can do anything.
you're looking at
We've spoken about that before.
We have talked about this.
a recent.
Sorry, Rob.
No, I think if you're playing a wizard without intelligence, there's a really interesting play to like trying to buff a lot of people and like you're not
Yes,
doing things
yeah,
where
there
people
you
are trying to save, but you're creating maybe summoning things or doing something
Yeah,
where you're
fog cloud. You
different
don't need
style.
shit for intelligence,
Fog cloud,
Yeah.
fog cloud, fog cloud.
but it does influence the number of spells that you can prepare every day.
well.
True.
And Derek asked, finally, what's your favorite broke from the table laughing moment that has happened?
Break from the table laughing.
Yeah, have we ever been like so
take a
laughing so
God, I
hard?
can't remember. So many of them, honestly.
We have good times.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah,
think any of them
fine.
ever been so breaking that.
See,
Although-
I don't know. I don't know if it was a break from the table moment, but the war pigs joke that you put in there through
Very
the
funny.
through the
Whoa, pigs.
music, I
Dun-dun.
killed laughing about it.
Honestly,
Do you guys remember the Careless Whisper? Did everyone get that?
and then by the end of the episode, it's just like, "Tweet."
There's another episode. I did.
It's very good. Honestly, the way that Dice Shame has turned into a podcast has really been changed by the pandemic, because we used to record in
That's
person
a question after.
in this room.
That's one of the ones that I wanted to talk about joke timing with too, because I
Well,
think that's a great question.
And I just wanted to say that I remember just busting up laughing at the antics in the room, but I find I am less likely to laugh at ourselves when we're digital.
I laugh more when I'm listening to the episode.
Me too.
Edited, yeah.
See,
I do think
yeah.
I remember laughing in person when Alex shamed to die and he chucked it across the room
And it hit the wall.
and hit the wall.
That was his first one.
Out of
That was
here!
the yellow one.
Yeah, it was the yellow one. I remember.
Yeah.
It's the yellow one. He just fucking bolted it.
You know, the funny times are harder to recall because there's just so many of them. But
I remember the dramatic times.
I do remember the dramatic times when we were going through the War Pigs. Through that episode, we got to a point where I think we had to
pause.
I'm pretty sure it was that episode where we were all at each other's necks, like in real life. I think we were recording online at this point.
Yeah, we did Gredhog online.
And we had to like take a step back. Everybody went and got a drink because we were.
I think we had lunch.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, like
we need to regroup.
We were visibly and physically upset with each other.
And we came up with a rule.
An elephant in the room. Yeah.
Which the rule after that was that if we need to make discussions tactically, we're just going to stop recording, discuss them until we feel we've come to a decision, and then continue recording. Because I think the main issue we ran into that was we're always underweight when we're recording. We're trying to push forward and we just needed to have like a conversation of what the fuck we were going to do, because you know
Without
when
the
you're
pressure of making it
Fit
good
the
for
fan,
the audience.
and we didn't have a plan.
and we've been so much better at it since then.
Yep.
Yeah.
They say
Yeah.
silently.
Yeah. And also I think it was
I
a
do
good
great
learning.
at
I think
helping
it was
you guys plan.
a good learning experience too, because that was the first time we had been sort of upset with each other, right? In a sense.
Yeah.
Maybe not upset.
There have been
No,
other
that's
times.
not true.
There's a
Actually,
lot of
yeah, I remember Justin and I getting into it.
almost
forget.
after the first somewhere in the first recording episode, though, there was a very clear moment where we're like, oh no, those two are brothers. Just the way they talked,
Oh, you and
the
I,
way you
yeah.
interacted. There was definitely a moment of
yeah.
like, okay, there's that little bit of like, I've known you my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quit telling
Get
me how I
out
am.
of my
Like there's
face.
that element of like, oh, very clearly. I remember
Yeah.
looking at Joey and being like, oh yeah, they're definitely brothers. I
Yeah.
get it.
But that's like,
Sure.
that's different because I don't think I've ever like Alex. I've never been like, I've been annoyed by you, but never like, ugh.
Yeah.
No, but there's just a way that the two of you interact that was like, oh, okay. There's a little bit of like,
It's
you've
when
known each other your entire life. I
Like
get
when
it.
you're
know
visiting
it.
a friend's
It's when-
house and their parents start fighting, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what's this? This is awkward."
no, because I don't
The
think they
kid's
even
like,
care.
they fight all the time, whatever.
And with Alex, it's when I'm like, when you're, putzing around, and I'm like, and it's when it's the opposite for you, or the exact same, I should say. When I'm like taking too long, you're like, come
Yeah.
on.
Both of you get long-winded, and the
I
other
just want to
person's like,
investigate the
okay,
bones
enough.
of this thing one last time.
I think it's Alex telling Harlan, "You always do this,"
Yeah.
and it's Harlan telling Alex about a different way to do a thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. We'd
Very
be like,
apt.
oh, you can try this. Except the problem is when I'm like, oh, you can roll this. He's like, oh, I
Here
do
it
have luck.
goes.
Because Alex forgets like 90% of his shit despite playing
I don't
56 episodes. You do.
I
You're like, okay, fine.
and-
I guess I
and-
could do that.
And so, ultimately, it all comes up. It boils down to we are learning, and we are learning and taking those mistakes and things that we're learning and applying them. So we
Getting
haven't
better.
we've come close to another one of those situations where we all kind of boiled over, but we haven't, because we're like, okay, and we look at each other and we realize, hey, it's a game, let's try and work this out. Let's take a step back and resolve the issue in the game, which will resolve our real
Shut
issues
up,
in real
Alex.
life.
God damn. Hurry up. Would you?
Right?
That's exactly it.
You just always want to think things through, like to the 100th percentile. You're like,
Katie.
And
Harlan's
we've
like,
stayed
well,
alive
my-
this long, haven't we?
But there's a chance if we don't think about this again.
So, here's a great question. Who is your favorite player character? I mean, we all love Joe, so it's without a question that would be our first choice. But who's your
Thank
favorite
you,
player
darling.
character and why? Not including yourself, obviously.
Ooh.
I love Kraloth. I'm really into the. So I mean he leaned, I think, of the three of you. I felt that like leaning into Celeborn and the idea of, okay, I've got this person, like he's the sort of character I would usually play is a Kraloth. So there's
really
like
you're
this
complimenting
immediate, like,
yourself by picking Kraloth.
I mean, I'm just saying someone has really good taste, and
In the most recent episode that we've not yet released, Kraloth has an excellent line, I believe, where you say something like, "And I have a home in my lord," and I was like, "Damn, that's something that a religious person would say."
Yeah,
Holy
there's.
shit.
I love that. I love but also, Kraloth like has this whole like really funny, like every food thing with Kraloth makes me think of every time you've got, oh fuck, I'm blanking on his name, who's eating something in every one of his movies.
Or fucking Brad Pitt. Bill
Pitt.
Pullman.
Like, there's
Bill Pitt.
Pullman, yes. This, you have
no
Bill Pullman
Bill.
in Memento and Bill Pullman in
Fight Club.
Fight Club. Yeah, exactly. So there's that really like that contrast of like this sometimes the like hard to bring everybody together, and then seeing him get tested and things. I'm really fascinated with his story. I think there's.
Well, I think he
like,
has a really good arc too. Like he has
Yeah.
a good good B plot, as we call it.
Who's
you know
your
what I mean?
favorite, Justin?
Ooh.
I know mine. Can I go?
I
Yeah,
know
you
mine
go.
too.
I
It's
wanna
such
go
a
first.
it's such a hard thing, but I mean, if I'm gonna pick one, I gotta say Jack. I mean, Jack is
Aww.
I mean, we're trading compliments here, but
That's allowed.
just the again, it's kind of the little things. Like I love the details of caring so much about like a salt and pepper shaker, or when an artifact gets thrown at you or at somebody and they take 24 damage. You're more concerned about the artifact than
I
you
love
are.
that. I
The
love
box
that.
of treasure.
I'm still.
Yeah.
Groundhog.
We just got another donation from Tim Tabor.
Tim.
Oh my god!
Thank
Hey.
you so much.
$50.
Thank
you,
you,
Toolman
Tim.
Tabor.
Alex, I'm assuming you
So
might as well
generous.
jump on that.
Yeah, my favorite character, and this might surprise you, is Red, actually.
Aw.
Yes.
Why? Why do you like
Yes.
red?
Well, not only does he have this like mysterious deep backstory where we're walking through the city and we walk by a graveyard and Red starts like gazing off into eternity and something's going on there. What's this? He's floating up on a purple sanded beach or something like this. Purple skies. And like just the cut ears and then to bring it all forwards with this kind of goofy attitude, but no, that's not to tie it off. He's got this goofy attitude, but then to tie it off is this like
There are many
killer
ties.
with a bow. Like holy crap, this guy
Yeah.
takes down an
Oh,
ogre
yeah,
Really
yeah.
proficient.
with
Yeah.
2 shots. Like
Mhm.
oh my god, the power. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna roll these 7 die and it's 63 damage. And here's my fighter with a big axe, and he's like, oh, 13 damage. What the hell?
Well, put it this way:
So-
we're gonna and I would love to joke
Complete
and
the
say
circle,
it was
complete the
Kraloth
circle.
and Jack, but I would be lying if I didn't say sincerely it was Doran.
Yay!
Because Doran is
Really?
not honestly. Not only is Doran fucking hilarious, because I said Jack is the funniest player or Rob is the funniest player. Doran is absolutely the funniest.
This is
character.
rated R. This is Pete, not
Yeah, of
PG
course.
here?
Oh god,
That's
fuck,
right,
fuck,
right,
fuck.
But Doran, I love everything about him. I love the quirky little things where he like eats the butt and he like talks to
Yeah.
the axe and he's like treats
Oh,
him
yeah.
like that. And this like soft underbelly with this and my favorite moments are when Doran's sort of trying to be a little bit more, when he like tries to do the mapping or when he tries to do a sketch and like
He
when
tries to talk to
break
someone when
outside
there's like a
his-
fight happening. He's like the
Yeah.
dad. A little
so good. And I
thank
sincerely
you.
love Doran. I've loved Doran from the beginning, and
Look at that.
absolutely, I know, worked out
Just
well.
like this.
That couldn't
And
have worked
then-
out better.
I know.
And then we
What was
all love our GM.
oh, of course.
Yes.
I mean, literally
So
after
good.
every game.
Can I ask you guys who's your favorite NPC? You don't have to give a million reasons.
That's
just...
another question.
Ooh.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
So let's
Can I
wait.
just please quote someone in chat? Colin says, "I'm a redhead. I'm roaring for Doran, crazy for Kraloth, and a Jack maniac." Thank you, Colin.
It's pretty
I'm
good.
glad you went
Very
with Jack Maniac. 'cause-
Yeah. Redhead's weird. It makes sense, but weird, but I like it. What was the most surprising moment? What is one of the most surprising moments from the show's history? I mean, for me personally, and again, I want to make this clear. I don't know if I said it again, but if you have spoiler questions about up to 56, we are answering them. This is all spoiler filled.
Yeah, so if you are
So if you
watching
haven't-
and you have not caught up,
If you haven't caught up,
this is your
pause,
warning.
watch. If you
That would have been good to state that
Watch
at the
with your
beginning of
ears.
this hour, but
Well, whatever.
Yeah,
For me, one of my most surprising moments was Asta. Losing her. I was, and not just because it was like blah blah blah, but I genuinely didn't know how to react to that. I was like,
Actually,
I needed
we
to leave.
retook the end of that episode.
Yeah, because I
Because
edited
you were
it.
joking about it, and it was the end of a session and stuff. And then when we came back and we started our next session, you were like, "Listen, I want to treat this more respectfully."
And
so
because
we retook it.
It was really tough, and
You
not
were
only
really
that, but
upset.
how it was framed with Kraloth and all the stuff. That was one. There's very few times that there's an emotional weight from something that I need to like actually think on. There's been 2 moments, and that was one of them, where I was like, I can't think this through right now. I literally need to step away and like figure out how the fuck I feel because I'm not too sure.
yeah.
about you
For
guys?
me, the surprise was when Kraloth teefed my
Stole?
ring. Yeah.
Your ring.
Teeth.
What did you say?
That's
Same.
been released.
I think it was
right?
same episode.
That's been released.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not a spoiler. Okay,
What
yeah.
was the word that you used?
No, I said teefed when he teefed my ring, and
Teeth.
like when
We
he
used to say
stole-
that.
You never heard that
Say
term?
that.
Is
When he
that a
stole
word?
it? Okay.
Tiefing? Yeah. I'll it's maybe it's
Patois for thief. Who knows? When-
Might be. I don't
but when he stole, things from us, like to me, I know you guys had spoken about it, like Justin and Joe, in secret. But when that happened, I was like, what? How?
We didn't really talk about it that much, honestly.
Not
No.
really.
And I was like, he's stealing from us?
Justin
I
knows what's going
had
on
this
with
Eddie thing in my mind. Is he gonna like turn on us? Like, is something gonna?
Justin knows what's going on with Kraloth's character, but he did not know that there was going to be an imp situation.
Yeah. What about you, Jack and Kraloth? Most surprising moment?
I'm really surprised and delighted every time we find a way for Jack and Red to be friends again after they're mad at each other.
Aw.
It always feels very dire, and like I don't know how. Like there's a part of me that's like that is like, man, Jack is pissed. I don't know how we're gonna find a way for them to bring it
Yeah.
around again or something. And then there's like some touching moment somewhere. It's like, okay, we got out of that one, but next
You know
time
what it is? It's having weeks between.
Yeah, right. Like,
Just
So you
stop
can think
caring.
about
We're
it.
like, was I mad at? What were we upset about? Whatever. Fuck it.
Yeah.
It's fine. Because no joke though. Well, I can't say anything. But anyway, yeah, I'm agree. I agree. Jack and Red are so, and I think you and I are very similar players that were loyal to the ideas that we have of characters, that we to an extent get attached to that ideal, and we like. It's not just Red and Jack coming to terms. It's Rob and Harlan trying to figure out a path sometimes too, because as our characters were like, or as our players were like, no, I don't know, I don't want
I
to give
think
that much
both
up.
of you have the most trouble with, is that something my character would really do?
Yeah.
And I think when you both think about that enough and you realize that you're at odds, then you kind of get in a bit of in trouble with each other, because you're like, well, no, my character would do this in this situation. I'm sorry. You know?
there's definitely that's the pull of understanding this is we're not just playing a game to follow these characters around. You're also making a thing that's gotta fit somewhere where there's compromises you need to make to do that sometimes, or to figure out, to walk away and think it's not enough to say my character would do that. It's also got to be, hey, this is actually a part of got to fit into a bigger story. So we can invent any reason for our characters to do anything. What is going to be the interesting way to resolve this?
Yeah,
Right,
and it's tough
yeah.
sometimes, because when you set a precedent in a way, when you're like, this is where Jack's line is or Red's line is, you have to be consistent, and that's I think everyone struggles with consistency, to be like, okay, does Kraloth show no emotion, or is he emotion?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or
Right.
is Red, can Red be silly and steal something from this house, but then also have like a line when someone else takes something from another house? And like, there's absolutely moments where I've kind of played it poorly, and I go back and re-record just to make sure that I'm being relatively consistent. And we all struggle with that, to be like, okay, but is this a character that makes sense?
The time when I was most surprised was an Alex moment. It's something
Doran or
that
Alex?
Doran did that I was really surprised by and very touched and pleased by.
Oh.
Where after
Losing
Grudhog,
touches.
you had taken the memory of someone who you guys left
Oh,
behind
yeah.
there, and I had created
barbarian.
I created sort of fleshed out a random encounter for the boys to come across a Uthgard barbarian burial mound, thinking this is something that Jack will find interesting at the very least. Maybe the boys will just pass it by. Maybe they'll interact with it a little bit. I just wanted to give them the option to see what they would do. And this is something that Doran like got off his horse and he cut his palm and put some blood on the stone, having remembered that that was what the barbarian in Grudhog did as a symbol of fraternity during their battle together.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so special because
good.
Alex and No Bones, these are sometimes details that you forget about, like names
true.
and places and stuff. And I was like really impressed that you had retained that detail and you recalled it immediately, and B, you used it in such a meaningful way that made that location that could have just been like, oh yeah, cool, well, we continue, we're not interested in this. That actually made that really important part of the story.
That's awesome, and I totally
Thanks.
agree. And Justin, I want to hear yours, but I do want to mention that we just got another $50 donation from Brianna and Matt, a different Brianna.
Amazing.
We are
Amazing.
$100
Is that the Webbers?
away.
No,
from
different Brianna.
We are $100 away from $3,000.
Wow.
Whoa!
Oh, okay.
Thank you guys. That's amazing.
Michael and
Crazy.
Brianna, isn't it? Yeah. Thank
Justin,
you very much.
your biggest surprise.
I gotta say it was when B showed up.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
That was
was
something
good.
Harlan and I had been planning together.
That was cool. Yeah. we
I have
talked
never
about that.
played a campaign where someone's daughter shows up and it's like, "Hey, can I come along with you guys?" It's just like the logistics
Get out
of
of
like,
here,
oh,
you baby.
how does this work, and what? And then also seeing Red's reaction to it, and the discomfort and the confusion and the wanting to escape it. And then the subsequent interaction with Doran of bringing him down and convincing him of it.
That
It
whole
was really just
Yeah.
flowed really nicely.
And that whole encounter actually gave me like a rule for Red. I don't know how you guys play, but to keep consistent, I every time there's like a big character establishment, I kind of write it down just so I don't forget. And that was one that Red has the rule that he runs away from problems that don't have any clear solutions. It's why he abandoned Kraloth. It's why he couldn't deal with B. It's why he could tackle Grudhog, because he could see a way to do it. But Red is someone when he doesn't really get how he could get out of this, like he doesn't know how, he runs away.
I really enjoyed that angle to open up Red's history and the context of what made Red Red. I felt like that was it was one of the most delightful additions to me. I love Orin and B a lot for the extra bits of interaction that they give us, but the B as this lens into this other side of Red and into this someone who Red doesn't want to disappoint, who like he cares about what she thinks about unequivocally. And I feel like Red can sometimes care and sometimes not care what any of the rest of us think, but he always cares what B thinks, and I think that's really interesting.
Very true.
And I think it's just the bigger viewpoint, which is, bringing things into the story to help move it along and to dig into pieces of the past, as opposed to saying, oh, that place, I remember that place, let me tell you about my past. It's like these things that we try to work in as story pieces that not only make it not only allow us to open up about our character history, but also challenge us to think of how they incorporate into each of our stories and how we then deal with that. I think just these bits and pieces help to kind of move the story along as well and make it interesting. And I don't mean to sit here and pander to you or
Alex.
but
Fuck.
I don't think we're being too blowhard. Are we?
Whatever.
No,
people
I
are
don't
here to-
think so
I mean,
either,
they want to
but,
know
like,
what's up. No, I don't.
if anybody else is doing podcasts, I mean, it's it's all, and watching this, you might also consider that as something you want to do as well, like to help keep things interesting. You got to present yourself with challenges and present yourself with not just die rolling challenges, but challenges that are difficult morally or ethically for you to
Definitely
approach
that.
and tackle. What's more fun? Controversy sells, right?
Damien Barry asked.
Damien Barry.
Damon Barry.
This is Joe's favorite. This is the Australian at the beginning of the episode. He's like, "Watch out for that deer."
Kangaroo. I tell him to watch out for the kangaroo.
For the
Damien
players, sorry. What is your favorite aspect of playing your character? Which is a great question.
Ooh.
The blood and guts for me.
Barry. I
I
love.
my
am
God.
not
Cut
a
off the
violent
head.
person. I would walk away from a fight 9 times out of 10. But I love, going into battle and slashing and hacking. Yeah.
Ripping
Good.
heads off to and
Yeah.
fro.
I'm glad
getting
that's something
covered
I
in
can
sprays
provide
of
for
blood.
you.
Doused in
Never
blood
washing
and
his beard.
visceral.
I love kind of being the comic relief. I love being a character that it's okay to make jokes. I think I'd be really frustrated in playing a long form campaign where my character wasn't allowed to make jokes because I would feel really constrained. You know what I mean? I'd feel like I couldn't do that. So I like playing a character with a sense of humor, and I feel like Red lets me do that unabashedly.
I love playing against the party when there is a show afterwards being made. Like if this were not being recorded, if we were just playing, like Kraloth wouldn't. I don't know if he would do the things that he has done, or it would just play out differently. But when there's a show, listening back to it afterwards, knowing Kraloth, motivations, and knowing just how, like, it really, I feel like it adds to the tension of the story. It's very satisfying to be able to be like, yeah, ask the dead.
Yeah, I agree.
What are we gonna do about
Fuck
that?
your horse.
I love Jack's curiosity about the worlds whether he's interrogating, like, where did these salt shakers come from and why, or like, where did Red come from, or what's Doran's deal, or like when he gets to like dig into those details and ask the questions and try and figure something out and learn more about it. I think that impulse is really fun.
Good question, Damien.
Very good question.
Excellent.
For Joe, he also asked, who has been your favorite NPC to play so far?
Oh, that's fun. Who's my favorite NPC to play so far?
Might be the one in the episode that's not aired yet.
Honestly, I like Zephyros the most.
Yeah. He's fun.
He's really fun because he was the first straight up like grandfatherly type figure, and I liked it that you guys were a little bit wary at first of him, and then he got to come out and save you guys a little bit when the cultists landed on the cloud. He's so powerful, but he's a little bit like ditzy and kind of out there. I really like that he got to have kind of a strained relationship with Jack at first, and well, we'll see what happens next.
Carly asked
He's got a
two
cool
questions for the
voice, too.
cast and one for Joe.
I like his voice.
Carly asked for the cast, if it's not a
Carly!
spoiler, what would be your character's fondest memory?
Aww.
It's a very boring memory with
Your father.
Fuck. No, I'm with Torrent. Fuck, I'm blanking on my boyfriend's name. That's no
Come
good.
on.
It's a really lovely memory with Torrent. Maybe the one where he made that galette that we talked about in the other episode. Some like silly breakfast moment or something.
Aw. Sweet.
For Red, I think it's probably like the first time he met Bee after
As like a kitten.
as like a little kitten, and River tells him
Oh, that's
that
cute.
it's his daughter.
That's
and da-da-da.
pretty adorable.
And I picture him sort of having this like bewildered look in his face, and she's like, "We'll tell her that, don't worry, like, you don't have any responsibilities. I just wanted," and then,
Because you agreed to be a dad without.
but not a like,
father.
exactly. He has no sexual attraction to that type of thing. He just wanted to do something for her because he loves her. And then getting to play with that daughter, I think it's definitely like a kid moment. It's definitely something surrounded with Bee.
Cute.
Alex?
Well, my fondest memory, I'll be honest with you.
It was a
It's the first time.
No. was the first time my father handed me a hot piece of steel and a set of tongs and said, "Son, smash this piece of metal with your hammer." And I did. And I'll tell you, it connected with me like I connected with that piece of steel. And I'll never forget the way the flashes of sparking iron flew off that and right into my pants. And I ran out of the room and had to douse myself in cold water. And my father said, "That's why we wear a leather apron in the blacksmith, son."
I also would venture that if you were to pull Doran now, holding Thorol Flametongue's axe for the first time must have been just the bee's knees.
Or
Yeah,
exploder.
yeah.
Or exploder. Because
Honestly,
Like
that
more
moment-
recent history, yeah, I guess.
the moment where you said the touching stuff once you left your own axe there and all of that was very good.
Yeah, it's that
those are
whole
my
scene.
favorite Doran moments.
yeah, same.
That one or the one where you wrote your last will and testament.
And you sent
We
it to
talking memories or
Morak
moments
Sergei?
that in
Fondest
recorded?
I don't know.
memory, wasn't it?
That was an aside. Those are just things I like that you've done.
I
Yeah,
also
no.
liked.
Thank you.
Alex, greatest hits.
Yeah, I also liked when Doran failed the roll on the stone bridge in front of the
Oh,
giant.
yeah, that was
Oh, right,
epic.
yeah.
It was
Not
a negative
yeah,
moment, but
yeah.
I
That's
really
like worst.
liked
That's worst memory. That's
And then
pretty
Kraloth cast the axe for him to make it look like his axe. Did that happen?
Yeah,
Or did we cut
yeah.
that out?
Yeah. Oh, did that?
I
happen?
I think that we tied a rope as well around my waist into something.
I think we cut that out too. That
No.
rope thing.
That didn't
shit.
happen.
We cut the rope out.
Yeah, that's a
You
tough
didn't-
thing.
That was
you
a
talked
messy
about it,
episode.
but you never.
It,
ended up
we
doing
definitely
it.
talked about it.
Doesn't make
but
sense
didn't
with
make it
action.
into
Let's go
the
back and
episode.
listen to that and then re-answer
Did we
the
keep the
question.
axe? I think we kept the
believe
Kraloth makes
it
an
wasn't
axe.
to make it look like Doran was doing it, but it was like for Doran.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a.
It's always
tribute,
tough.
I guess.
Sometimes it just doesn't work.
I would say, actually, I think I am going to not say what Kraloth's fondest memory is,
Oh.
but I think that I can fairly say that a lot of his best memories are from traveling with
this party.
This party. If it's from before, then probably the first time Kalimvor answered his prayer. Where he was like, "Oh shit,
What?
Kalimvor's real. This is, I can do shit with this." And
Cool.
then, yeah.
Very cool.
For cast, what inspired you in making your character? We've sort of answered that a little bit. Does anyone want to expand on it?
No,
Okay.
not me.
Then Carly also asked for Joe, have any of your NPCs been difficult to find voices and personalities for?
God, 95% of them. It's so rare that I'm like, oh, I know who this person's gonna be.
So I think you got to answer your favorite NPC that you did. But man, Zulkin is so cool.
I
You like
Zulkin.
Zulkin?
He's my favorite.
Shut up,
I
Zulkin.
love to hate him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zulkin's cool.
I'm glad that some of the like the baddies are our favorites too.
Yeah, of course.
Well, but that's my favorite. Like when he came back and got to be the bad guy who gave us our name, and we got to be like, you jerk. But I guess we're agreeing to do this weird like that. That was my favorite. I dug that a whole bunch.
I don't know. My favorite
Are we
Joe.
talking about
NPC?
NPC?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that because
Yeah.
difficult voices is and not to shit
all
on
of them.
Carly's
They're all
question.
they're
but
all difficult. I'm not a professional voice actor. I try to
You're doing a
work
great
on
job.
them, but
do great.
they're
You
all
do
very
wonderful.
difficult.
I love Chazloth.
Chazloth
the
is
actor.
Yarkorn is
Okay, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
this fucking
again.
fucking
He's
guy.
a harmless
Chazloth.
asshole.
Super.
I love Tiny Roll, but the fucking kid
Oh yeah.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
towns.
And
The mayor.
the child
The
mayor.
mayor.
But the interaction made it too. Are you the mayor? Yes, I'm the mayor here too.
The whole reason that character came up was because you like failed an insight roll or something.
Yeah.
You're like, is he really the mayor? Yep. You think he's really the mayor?
I also
Mr.
like.
Mayor.
I also like the Frenchman you made into Ranner's Hold.
Yeah.
Oh, he's my
Oh,
favorite.
yeah.
I like him a lot too.
He's good.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
trying
also-
to think. As far as bad PCs go, NPCs, the witchy woman that we took over her home. I can't remember her name. See,
Oh,
this is
Oh.
my problem.
Lady
Hamperat.
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 Oh,
Yeah.
Emperor.
Yeah, she was. a very, very.
That was a surprising
nasty-
moment.
That was a
NPC.
surprising
shit.
moment.
Yeah, that she was in
When-
Grudhog.
When
Yeah.
Yes.
oh
But-
yeah,
and
I
a difficult
pulled a
decision,
hard
too.
one on you guys.
You pulled a hard one out
I
for
pulled a
us?
hard one right out for you guys. I
Dude,
was like, look
killer-
at this.
Flap.
Dude,
questions.
does she stay or does she go? But no, I would have to say that I still love. What's his name? What's his name?
Morak Ergay?
Yeah. No, the white.
Miros, that's your character.
Miros.
Miros.
That was
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
That was you, my friend. You played
And
that
when we
one.
talk about
I guess
voices,
he's an NPC though.
Yeah.
like, well, it was an NPC, right?
I know, but we're
Wasn't
trying to
it?
But I
compliment
mean-
Joe's NPCs.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, okay. But when you were I came up
Miros
with the
was
voice,
awesome,
and then you were
yeah.
trying to do the voice.
Hello.
I
Right.
love
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I really do like Morak Ergay as well.
I don't know
Yeah.
how we sound. This has been a while.
Got some great NPCs.
He was just
Now
kinda
that I
gruff.
think about it, you're right.
I think I just tried to
Miros
mimic
wasn't yours, so.
Doran. That was
Yeah.
like my Morak
It's like
voice.
your version of Doran.
Yeah. Good time.
I still love yours up
Next.
voice though.
Katie
question.
asked, yes, Justin. Katie asked, how have you adapted to recording remotely? Is it easier or harder?
Yeah, that's really difficult.
So this is very interesting. Well, I don't know. I would say there's give and take, and this is a question that
Yeah.
I sort of pushed for after because editing is more laborious, but I've personally come to feel that the quality is better for a few reasons. One of the big
Recording
ones being
separately.
what's that?
Recording separately.
Yeah, so originally we would record in the same room, all hanging around, which I think adds an energy. So what recording remotely has done is it's dropped our energy to a
Yep.
certain degree. And it's tough to kind of nail exactly where, and we've done a good job at tweaking it, but I think that's the only major thing. But with editing, it's given me so much more freedom in terms of like pacing and jokes. And I find this, like, ever since recording remotely, we are infinitely more funny.
The product is better.
Because it's so much better to make a clear like punchline and like make the dialogue snappier.
But it's funny because we start our recording sessions with Harlan going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live. And then we all joke around for a little bit and like energy up, and then I start an introduction
yeah, to keep the energy up.
to try to make sure that we're all
But
pumped.
because one of the things is like, you know, Rob will say a line, but he'll say it to himself almost. He'll be like, "Da, da, 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 da." It's kind of like this, right? So it's really quiet. If we're recording in the room, that gets lost, or it just doesn't get picked up. But it's really nice to keep so a joke, and we all say jokes at the same time. So what happens is someone will say something, a setup, and all four of the boys will basically say a funny line. And what's great is
Harlan does the funniest one, obviously.
no, but I get to pick the order in which they go and which ones I cut. So, and that's the one thing I love about you guys, and I'm including myself, so I'm being cocky, but I love, we always take shots. We're never missing an opportunity because even if all four of us take a shot, at least one of them is, or two is
One of
usually
them's
pretty
gonna
funny.
land. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Two might just be stupid or whatever like that. But usually if we're constantly taking shots after lines, then we're at the very least having one or two really funny lines an episode, which is why I think our overall product has gotten funnier.
Well, this is something that I took away when we started. A piece of advice was like, what we're missing is all of those reactions and things, and just try and say something. Even if you're talking over somebody, say a like or a yeah, or like give that room energy vibe, and
Because
then
otherwise it's just dead.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that was like would never have thought of that as being a thing that's missing. But I take that all over the place. I even like because every meeting now is remote somewhere, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, this isn't just dead air this person's talking to. Try and find a way to put some life into it and be like, yeah, okay, it's active listening.
Absolutely, and laughing too, because it's so easy when you're not around the table. Just to, someone makes a joke, and you're like, haha, right?
Lol.
Which sounds weird when you're editing, and it's like, so I'm going to like laughing more.
Yeah,
fluently.
yeah.
Alex
Yeah,
is very
it's
good
like,
at faking
you know,
it.
totally the
Yeah, you're good at faking it.
sort of.
I would say it
Both
is
ends.
easier and harder. Honestly, it's more laborious, but it is, I think, a better product. So it's easier in terms of quality, I guess. But really, I think that only really pertains to me. Oh, I would say if we're factoring the whole thing, it is much easier in terms of scheduling.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need to worry about getting Rob and Justin up here or Alex down or over from Oshawa or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it is a huge boost in terms of how often we get to record.
We can do on a weeknight, like in an evening, as opposed to just like
So
a
it's a lot
Saturday
more
or
work for
Sunday.
me, and it's a lot easier for everybody else. But it works out. Thanks, Katie. Good question. This is an
Yeah,
interesting one, which actually I'm kind of excited to answer. How much extra work was Icewind Dale?
God,
Did Wizards at
God.
least give you extra copies of the book?
endless work.
Oh.
a lot
That
of work.
episode took so fucking long.
Not only is it an hour and a half. So again, the full story of this is, regardless of how it came about, Wizards of the Coast needed an episode, fully edited and everything, in basically a week and a half,
10 days.
10 days. So they sent us the PDF, but they didn't even send us the PDF until maybe 5 days before.
Yeah, so they told us we were good to go on producing. We'll send you a PDF shortly. And we ended up actually finding a leaked video of someone leafing
Yeah,
through
what Joe
it.
and I did is, we went through and I screenshotted every page as the guy was flipping it.
So
and
that
we
like,
picked an adventure.
we could start looking at the content of the book and sort of decide where we could slot it into our adventure.
Yeah.
And then sort of built the adventure from there. We didn't actually have copies of the PDF until like 5 days before.
And still, our only version is watermarked.
How long did we end up recording for? Was that a 6-hour recording session? I think.
It was really long for an
It
hour
was
and a half.
super long.
But the worst was for Justin and I, because I had 1 day to edit an hour and a half episode, and he had 1 day to do the post production.
Mm-hmm.
I think we
Yeah,
had,
I had from like 7 o'clock to like the next day.
it was like I was cutting it like nonstop. I was like, okay, I just gotta cut this thing right
I think
away.
I wrote like 16 pages of text for it as well.
there is a lot.
It's a
Yeah.
ton.
And we bashed the
did-
idea around a ton to be like, hey,
Justin
what's this, this.
created unique music for it.
Yeah.
The sound effects were like the next level. He'd never added that much like post-production sound effects into anything.
Yep.
It was just
And the nicest part was I got to show up, play a really cool episode focused on my character,
And
and
then
then
be on
go
the
home
D&D
and leave all the work
website.
for everybody else.
I know. Me too. What are these guys
What a-
complaining about?
You can't imagine the absolute pleasure of playing with these people. That's the.
I mean,
Hey,
that must have been. How did that feel being on the D&D website, Rob? Because you're an old school D&D player.
I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat
you
to
know
go
what,
there
fuck
and see all of us and our name and the whole thing and have it all come out and be retweeted by the Wizards people. That's pretty good. I'm
Let's
into it.
hope we do it again.
We should do it again.
We are.
Absolutely.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I was even telling people about our podcast, and you know how it goes. Like when you're
No
not
one
in a
understands.
circle of people that do RPGs, I'm like, well, I do this gaming podcast, and they're like, oh, okay, and I'm like, it's not video
Step
games.
one.
It's like,
What's a
you know,
podcast?
oh, what's a? Yeah, well, they don't ask that, luckily. But then they say, oh, what's RPGs? And it's like, oh, well, you know Dungeons and Dragons, right? Oh, yeah, okay. So yeah,
board game, right?
and then that's right. That's
it
the
a video
second
game?
question, right? It's a video game? No, it's a board game. No, it's neither. Actually, it's in your fucking mind. Okay.
It's in your mind,
Then-
man.
Then
Your brain.
I drop the name. Oh, Dungeons and Dragons, so they know that. But then I'm like, yeah, and we were on the Dungeons and Dragons website. Like they hosted us. Then people are like, oh, you're legit. Like actually doing a podcast
Mhm.
of D&D RPGs, and I'm like, that's right. Now you understand.
We're not
Yeah.
fucking around.
It was extra work, and I think the coordination was also something that was quite a like we had less time, so like just making sure that things were tight, and Harlan getting the episode to me like at the time, and then me jumping on it and getting it exported that
I
time.
think we were
Yeah.
still at the end of Grudhog in terms of like the scheduling
right,
of episodes.
right.
We had to kind of figure out where to slot
did
it
it
in.
fit?
It ended up that we had to weight episodes heavier prior to the release just so that we could pause somewhere that made sense in the story in order to go randomly to Icewind Dale for 8 hours and then come back.
Well, and that's the
Yeah.
thing too, because someone else, I mean, Joe and I were really racking our brains as to where to fit this in, because, I was like, Katie, you sent me a video to put on stream, which I don't know what it is, but also it's private, so I don't know what you want me to do with that. It's like you must log in to watch this.
I don't think we can just randomly put something on.
Well, I don't know. I have to know what it is, I guess. Tell me, PM me and tell me what it is. I love you, but I gotta know, especially if it's music because it could get flagged. But anyway,
Jessica wants to know any advice for beginning DMs.
Yeah, I still have that. I'm just gonna end with that. I just wanted to see if anyone had any more last minute questions. The Icewind Dale, slotting it in, which is someone else was asking about the Rob Stone thing and him being sick, and Joe mentioned that before as well. But that was also really about convenient timing because, and this is really interesting because we've talked about it, how the Stone grabbed Jack and put him in, but that's not how that encounter went. What's really cool about that is we recorded past that on down the road, and then when Rob couldn't show up to a session, we had to record.
Like, oh,
Joe and I talked, and we're like, well, what if we slot it in here, and what if you just change the ending and make it that? And that, I think, is what's the most fascinating about it, that we actually, Jack totally got away from those things, but we kind of flubbed it to make it fit in a little more, which I think is really interesting, just how it works out. Same with Icewind Dale, really.
And just the last thing on that Icewind Dale episode. I mean, hats off to you guys. Not only was it very difficult, but it was also very rewarding, especially for you three who did all the production and the preparation for it. Because that's something that, I remember you guys saying to me, wow, we turned this thing around. Like, literally, we had a recording session set up for our normal next episode. And then everybody was like, hey, let's drop that. We're doing Icewind Dale. We're going to do this. And then you guys turned it around in like 24, 48 hours, something crazy like that. And then handed it in. And then the D&D people were like, wow.
Good job. Goes up on the website.
We're impressed. Okay. And I just remember thinking to myself, wow, like, isn't that such a nice feeling? Like, having a pat on the back from the people that you presented to.
Yeah.
The logistics alone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful.
And the amount of positive feedback we've got from that was really, really fascinating as well. Like people listening to other podcasts and being like, "Oh no, wow, this is really fucking cool." You know what I mean? Like you guys are on the top.
It was nice to have the opportunity to step in front of people who would, otherwise not necessarily have the chance to experience our show and be like, "Hey, we're really proud of this. Take a look."
And that opened up other people watching from other shows that were on that. Somebody was just on there today talking about that.
A lot of people were like,
and as Alex, I was just gonna say, as you were saying earlier, Alex, like being able to introduce people to the show, like right now, like you're 50 episodes into Dice Shame, like it's hard to say, to give someone who's kind of interested in what we're doing, like
an
a good representation of where things are now.
Yeah.
But Icewind Dale is such a perfect episode because it's a one shot. You can get to know the characters. You can get to know. You don't need to know 49 and earlier. It's just that one episode. So share it with friends and family, and it's much more produced than when we were first started out.
Oh yeah.
Burn it onto a DVD. Put it on,
Carly's
CD.
been preparing
Put it on a
trivia
VHS.
for us, and she said she started a re-listen back from episode 1, and I've done the same a couple of times, but it sounds very different. Episode 1 to episode 56.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
remember when Red threw Doran through a glass window?
God, that was
so
cute.
funny. Very different now. 2 more questions, and then I'm going to play the video, and I've
You screened it?
yes, it's good.
Okay.
Have you carried any emotional weight from a player interaction? It's interesting. I would say yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah, we put our hearts into this. Role playing is hard to divide your player character or your NPC or whatever from your own heart and brain.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So true.
Yeah.
Just recently, Harlan and I, there was an episode where we were like acting, and we were really into the acting.
Yeah.
And we're like, during a break, we were like, "Are you okay? Are we okay?"
Yeah.
There was like a little bit of aftercare, you know?
Of course.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because you're not an actor reads lines. An actor is someone who conveys the emotion that a character is trying to create. But when you're role playing,
And they prep it too.
well, exactly. But when you're role playing, you're
writing, directing,
in the moment. You're writing,
all
so
of
so
it.
you kind of have to be sincere with your feelings, because then you're not really, you're not really role playing, you know. And it's okay if you just want to be silly and stuff like that too. But like if you're trying to get into a character mindset, which I think Dice Shame has always sort of tried to do, yeah, I've definitely carried some scars.
I think Invictus too, we try to do that as well.
Yeah.
But all of our role playing,
Ebbs and flows.
anything you put out to, I think, an audience where you are acting, you know, is even still different than I think playing around a table, where you can kind of step back and say, what would my character say? And you might be able to joke about it, or like even talk about it a little bit.
Because you're not on that clock the same way.
Right.
I mean,
Whereas,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Well,
think
that's it. Yeah.
The Jack and Torrin stuff is always feels pretty charged. The Jack and anyone who's at all paternal and looking down at him always gets on his daddy issues and ends up feeling pretty charged. A lot of the Jack and Red conversations that end up where Jack is trying to understand what the hell Red is doing or why or what, and Red says the weirdest things, just gets under his skin, and that
The
ends up
Jack
being,
and Jack conversations get a little charged sometimes.
I mean,
There's a common theme here that I'm missing.
Jack, I mean, there's things he
I'm kidding.
cares about.
And and I think that's what's great about Jack again. I mean,
We touched on it earlier, but I think Harlan and I just butt heads from time to time, and sometimes that emotional charge is me stepping back from even my own emotions, right? Like I remember I said to you one time, "Oh, you're doing this thing that's really annoying me," and then I went like, "Hey, it really shouldn't bother me," and so I'm really at battle with myself.
You did.
My
I
meta
remember that you
self.
came back and you were like, actually, this is just a game.
Yeah.
And I get along well with everybody all the time.
Yeah, you're
nice.
There's
Great.
never
Love
any
that.
conflict.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
You
I mean,
roll
yes
my
and
eyes
no.
hard.
I think
I think for the
Harlan
most
and
part,
I probably
yes.
argued
And I
the
don't think you get
most.
too
Oh, of
emotionally
course.
charged.
Yeah.
Well,
But
because not
sometimes-
only are we in the same room recording and producers of the show, but we're also in a relationship, so it's difficult to like
Yeah.
walk that line, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like,
And
because-
sometimes Harlan will be like, well, I obviously that I meant to do that. And then Joe's like, well, you should have said it then, because you didn't say it, and now it's in the past. What the fuck are you doing? Come on.
I don't think I ever cuss at any of you.
No, you haven't. But like,
not
I'm
at us,
exaggerating.
but we all cuss. Cuss? Who the fuck calls it cuss?
Me, I just did.
What the hell? We swear.
Oh,
We
by the
swears.
way, thief. It is thief in Jamaican.
I figured.
That is.
Teeth
Yeah.
is-
It's
Well,
I thought it was a legit.
you know what?
English
There you go.
word. Only
No, but I mean,
I
it's
remember saying it in high school.
unarguably Joe is under the most stress out of any position here while playing the game. You know, like it's so and prepping the game. So it is
Seriously.
absolutely
obvious that that would weigh on anybody.
If I could just speak for a second, frankly, from a social perspective, I think as a woman DM, I kind of am put into a difficult position where I don't want to be seen as someone who lets you guys get away with everything. And I also want to be seen as someone who knows what the hell I'm doing, because there's kind of a pressure, like a social pressure, for chicks who are in this hobby. So I really am fighting against that, because I'm your biggest fans as your DM and as your friend and as your partner. But at the same time, I feel like, like I can't be too nice to them, or people listening to this are gonna say
Chicks
like,
are fucking soft,
right, like
man.
she's letting them off easy, like she's not a
That's
good DM. You know what I mean?
And
So
I think
feel
on the
like there's
flip
a lot
side,
of
like
conflict
we
internally.
don't take it easy on you because
Yeah.
you're a chick or anything like that.
No, of
right?
course
Like
not.
we'll argue
Thanks.
as would anybody.
No, please.
But I think that's a totally valid point. And I don't think you're soft on us at all.
Yeah.
I just think you make your decisions because that's what's going to be best for the game, and
Yeah.
that's what's going to be best
And
for
the story and the characters.
Right. And it's harder
That's
some
right.
days than other days to like walk that line
Yeah.
properly, because some days I feel like I am too easy on you. Some days I feel like I'm fighting against you guys for no reason, just because I have this like preconception
Yeah.
about what a good DM should do and how I need to measure up to that somehow, you know? But
yeah.
You're doing a wonderful job.
thank you.
You're doing
You
incredible.
are doing a wonderful
so
job.
fucking
Thanks,
good.
guys.
It's
Yeah, no,
Oh.
we're so impressed. You're amazing. You
So
know,
admirable.
I compliment you every night before bed. You're a great GM, baby.
Thank you.
She doesn't let me go to bed
You're
without it.
so silly.
I was saving the last question to be about podcasting, but you know what? That would really only apply to three of us. And Adam Davis, our good friend, who has done all of our logo and art, the amazingly talented Adam
So
Davis,
good.
God.
just asked a question that I'd like to
Incredible.
end with before I play this video. And what he asked was a great sort of prelude to the future. And he asked, what are you excited about for the adventure and the show going forward? I'm excited to get some motherfucking giants heads on pikes.
You want to fight some more giants?
I'm excited to get to the point where I don't know. It's a nervous excitement where one of us falls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Part
first
of me
death.
is looking forward to my next character.
Yeah.
I'm not. I love
No.
I'm really excited for some of the big story stuff to come to pass because we're all still very much like surface level questing right now. And there is an underlying story that's happening apart from what you guys are all aware of that will connect events together in a cool way that I'm just really stoked to like dive deeper into with you guys.
What?
I'm looking forward to that too. No, I'm just like worried that like we're gonna be off on our adventure and the reordering just happens. It's like, it's like
Some other party.
yeah, it's
Joe's
like,
other
You
group.
know Zephyros is insane, right, guys?
analogy
There's
in my
no way
head
that
is
you're
like-
going to influence this ordering.
Yeah.
I'm
The analogy in my
excited-
head is like, the Baggins go and do the ring thing while we think our adventure way too more important, and it's like not or something.
Yeah.
You're the
I'm excited for some of
fellowship's-
those small moments where we might get to meet a little bit of some more people from Doran's past. This
Yeah.
poor dwarf who had no friends and had this goblin ex-wife
Oh.
and all this other is like
Oh,
immediately
stay
like, I'm the
tuned.
heart of this crew. Or
I have
like
big
if,
plans
if
for
Jack's
Doran.
dad or the rest of his family shows up on screen for a little bit, or a little bit more of like learning what Kralos' deal is and how he's adapting to being this, like
I'm excited to kill Jack's dad.
planet. And, I mean, he probably deserves it.
Come over here, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. No, and especially that delving into everybody's history. Like this just interests me beyond
Yeah.
Aw.
words.
I mean, we still got a lot to uncover.
You
We
guys
still got a
are so
lot
nice.
more to go. The future going
still-
forward is going to be really interesting. I'm
I
excited.
still don't understand what the reordering actually entails, so
I
I'm
know
trying
you
to
don't.
look.
It's reordering, Doran, not
like.
reordering.
How
You know
are
what
we
I'm
all
excited
gonna
for?
listen?
What?
I'm excited for COVID to be over
Oh,
and for
yeah.
us to go
Have
to
a-
a convention
Yes.
and
Yeah.
meet with our
Yes.
fans
And-
hang out
Daishame
and
will
talk about all
go
this.
to-
Perhaps most importantly, to have a fucking proper celebrating 1 year anniversary of
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
missed it.
because we did not get a good enough any sort of celebration. It was kind of like a message that like Rob prompted and was like, "Hey, like happy 1 year,
You
guys."
guys know.
We're like,
Of
"Happy
course
1 year,
Rob
guys."
is-
It's just like so.
Sent a couple of gifts and then
Yeah, and we're like,
song.
firework
Firework
Wow.
emojis.
But I want a fucking cake. I want beers. I
Jessica,
want
kill
Absolutely.
Jack's dad.
Recipes from the D&D feast book,
recipes from the D&D feast book. Yes.
scones.
Yeah.
I am excited for Kralot to learn to cook some other things besides scones. I want to see what else his
About
baking
damn time.
repertoire grows into when he
He's
gets a
talked
moment
about
with an
baking
oven.
quite a bit, so bacon.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
Bacon and scones.
So I have a video to play now.
How are we all gonna
I'm gonna
watch it?
play it on the screen, and I'm gonna mute your mics, and I'm gonna send you
Okay.
the link at the same time,
Oh, good,
and
so
you
we
can
can
all
all
watch
watch
it.
it.
Now I'm gonna send it to you now.
Don't
Cue it up. Get ready to play it, and then I'm going to switch us off right now and play the video for the entire world to watch, and then we'll switch back and we'll get a bit of reaction.
I'm gonna cry.
No, you're not. You're gonna be fine. All right, give me a second. I just need to figure out how this all works.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready to. Tell us when to play. Playing.
Hey gang, this is Doug Churchman from Louisville, Kentucky.
I'm Carly from Toronto, Ontario.
Hey, this is Elizabeth.
Hey gang, this is Doug Churchman from Louisville, Kentucky.
I'm Carly from Toronto, Ontario.
Hey, this is Elizabeth Wilcox.
And James Schwartz from Phoenix, Arizona.
My name is Jessica. I'm from Toronto.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Brianna. We're from Connecticut.
This is Yilka from Paris.
I'm Katie, and I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana.
I'm Colin from Toronto.
This is Merlin calling from New Jersey.
I'm Stephanie, and I'm from Phoenix, Arizona.
I'm recording this on behalf of our friend Lucas Flores
Marvin
in
Tanner.
New York.
My name is Alexei Ozerov and I'm from Richmond Hill, Ontario.
Hello everybody, my name is Marvin Tanner. I've been asked to talk about Das Sham, and what Dasham has given me.
I've been listening to Dice Shame since the very first episode.
I've been listening to Dice Shame since the beginning.
I have been listening to Dice Shame since day one.
I started listening to Dice Shame the morning after a really, really amazing game night that Invictus ran at Chronicle Brewery.
We first started listening to Dice Shame at the very beginning of this year.
I first started listening to Dice Shame, I think around the time that quarantine just started.
I started listening to Dice Shame during the spring confinement.
I stumbled onto Dice Shame back in April.
I think the podcast was at episode 30 by the time I got to episode 1.
I first got into Dice Shame a little bit before everybody went into isolation and before the summer.
What to even say about Dice Shame?
Dice Shame has become easily one of my favorite podcasts. I get excited to listen to it every week.
I had this 40-minute bland commute up north to teach, and I mean, I hated it, but Thursday mornings would be like the highlight of my week because I could listen to Dice Shame and that made things like exponentially more interesting.
When I started listening to Dice Shame at work, the smiles would come every Thursday.
And honestly, it was just super refreshing to have a really incredibly well done podcast to listen to that was another actual play that was a nice, cheerful spot to our week every time a fresh episode came out.
Joe just makes me want to be a better GM.
But Joe Falak, she paints pictures with my mind, so wonderful.
Alex and Harlan and Justin and Rob have created these incredible characters with amazing and intricate backstories. Everyone's commitment to their character and the inevitable hilarity that ensues is just always so great.
I've been really enjoying the characters, their adventure. I've been having a lot of fun drawing the characters.
It's really inspired me to be a better player myself and to really bring in character backstory and bring in as much roleplay as possible. Their roleplay has to be far and away some of the best I've ever heard.
Dasham has taught me the importance of the roleplay.
Not only is it, the best to listen to and so much fun, but it's really been a light in the dark during the pandemic.
It is just an amazing escape from the craziness that has happened this year and continues to happen.
It's been a tough year, and something about the whole atmosphere of Dungeons and Dragons has really helped me.
Something about it just made me feel like I was sitting around the table with these people, getting to watch them play, and it felt like I wasn't alone in this really isolating time in my life.
The world is very shit, we all know this, but when I listen to Dasham, the world, it is not shit. So Dasham makes the world less shit.
You guys have done so well, and we're all so proud of you for sticking to this and for working so incredibly hard.
Dice Shame has just become an incredible part of my life and so many people's lives. It's not just that you're the best podcast out there that brings humour and drama and fantastic acting and role-playing and just an incredible feeling whenever you listen to the friendliness there. You've managed to create a whole community around you as well.
It was also really nice because it was a good community that they were building, something that is very much anti-toxicity, which was also extremely refreshing.
It's really, really rare to find a community like this online.
And it's lovely to have somewhere like Dice Shame and Discord, the Invictus stream, to be able to come to and just feel safe.
I just have no words really for how thankful I am for the community itself.
I've loved hanging out with you as a community.
It's the biggest and most loving family of nerds that I am proud to be a part of.
Coming from a place where we're making our own actual play podcast and have been trying to connect with other podcasters, the cast behind Dice Shame are just the nicest, most incredible people that we've had a chance to interact with, and that's been a major highlight of this past year for us, is getting to know everyone behind Dice Shame and having a chance to interact with another podcast that's solidly made of really good people.
Absolutely.
They are actively asking how everybody's doing and checking in on everyone, and it's so amazing, and right now we need people like that.
You know, this has been a long few months, and I've really appreciated the experience of playing games with you guys and just seeing what you continue to create.
Just with how much kindness everyone treated everyone, not just the cast, but the community members as well, were just absolutely wonderful.
You guys are our family, and we expect to spend much more of our time watching you in the future.
So I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for what you do.
I wanted to thank Harlan, Joe, Rob, Justin, and Alex, and all the community.
Thank you so much for sharing this passion project with us. And we all love you so much.
To Dice Shame, very best podcast out there, and the very best people out there. Happy 1 year, and I wish you many more.
For them to hit 1 year is super impressive. I'm so happy they hit that. They stuck it out, and they're still going strong. So congratulations, guys.
I'm very excited to see where it continues.
The anniversary!
We love you all.
Guys.
And see you around the table.
That is so sweet.
Holy crap, guys!
Wow.
That was fucking intense.
You got Joe
over
crying.
here blubbering over here. Yeah, Jesus Christ, guys!
Oh, the feels. You got the feels for real. That was super.
Wow! Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think you put us at a loss for words, guys.
Yeah.
That's
speechless.
It's a good thing this is the end of the piece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you
You
for
know-
organizing that and for contributing. That really means a lot to all of us.
Wow, guys, that was heartwarming, and yeah.
It was, and so nice to see you all, and that you all took that time to say such wonderful things. And I have to say that, you know, this non-toxic community, I agree with it wholeheartedly. And it's not just us, it's everybody that's involved, you know?
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
for being part of this non-toxic community. Everybody needs this.
Yeah, this is crazy. And fucking Marvin.
I couldn't stop laughing every time.
You make
Crazy
the world
psycho.
shit.
Thank you, Katie. This seems like it was your idea.
Yeah, or Jessica or Stephanie. I'm sure they all.
Nice to see the Webbers.
Oh god,
I said it right that
everybody.
time.
Wow,
You
guys,
Oh my God.
you've left us
Everybody.
speechless. Genuinely, I think.
Wow.
It's funny
And
because
then on top of a video like this, we look at this fucking 24-hour stream that we've been doing for charity, and we see how generous they've been.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I just don't have
$3,000. That's insane, guys.
We
Almost
truly
there.
have the best
2,900.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Going over.
I think this is the moment where we need to take a break. We talked about in questions. We were like,
The
you know,
emotional-
there's a really emotional scene. You need to take a break, and I think this is exactly it. So thank you again, guys. Once
Thank
again,
you all so much. Yeah.
This is a huge for you. Thank you. And thank you for hanging out. We're going to be coming back in probably 15 minutes with Hot Ones after we condense ourselves and figure out what the hell life is about. But thank you guys, and have a we'll see you soon. And thank you to Rob for coming on. We're not seeing you for the rest of the night. Others will be back, but bye guys.
See you later.
Good night, Rob. Thank you guys so
Everybody have a
much.
good one.